Listen. Welcome to LME Streams, where we are live from our couch at Sundance, I was going to say International Film Festival, but they don't go by International Film Festival. They just go by the Sundance Film Festival, and they have had an absolutely killer year. I am joined by Zach, Amanda the Jedi, and also Alina here, who's going to be checking in on a lot of the questions or stuff that you may have on the Sundance Film Festival as I pull y'all up here on the chat. Appreciate all of you who are watching. Let me try to fix this up over here. Make sure you guys are all coming in right there. It has been one hell of a festival. I don't recognize what sleep is because literally the name of the game here is you get to keep warm this time around. You don't have to go into the snow. You don't have to be bouncing around theaters to theaters. You just have to have this bad boy open right here and try to make everything fit. We're glad that we've had a lot of people who tuned in on that first time around. We were saying how to like maneuver the schedule and stuff. I am reaching damn near almost every movie at the festival. I know the crew here has seen a buttload as well, but let's just talk about our experiences.
Between the four of us, I was just going to mention between the four of us, we've seen every movie playing Sundance except for 7 of them.
Really?
Yeah. Which we still have the rest of today and tomorrow. Right?
We still have a couple of days, and hopefully maybe they'll send us some links. But
some VODs.
Yeah, so overall, how's the experience been for you guys?
It's been great. Like it's interesting. I was talking about this earlier. Like I've watched about the same, by the time it's done, I'm going to have watched pretty much the same amount of movies that I would have watched in like 2 weeks of regular Sundance, but it's condensed into like a weekend, which on one hand is great. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm not getting those, like the bus rides between theaters to like think about what I just watched. It's like immediately like, well, I got 2 minutes to the next feature.
I agree.
And you have to go right into it. So like, I do feel like you're losing something there. So it's kind of like overnight a lot of the times that you're processing some deeper thoughts about things.
Yeah.
But it's also been really great to just be able to just slam in as many movies as possible and try to catch all the things that you want to see, all the stuff that's getting buzz. And it's like a significant lack of FOMO. I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
So that feels great.
I agree.
Yeah, I think there's always movies that you just decide to sacrifice because there's other things playing at that time, or there's just so much to see that you want to see as wide of breadth as possible. But this year, I'm catching just about every single thing I wanted to see and then some, which is definitely a different experience. Yeah, it is.
Or Tetris, I should say.
It's fitting these different screening times into these different boxes and realizing, okay, I can watch 20 minutes of this movie and then go to that movie, and then the first movie will still be available after midnight or whatever. It's been pretty awesome.
And then you get, like,
I know we had like a definite, I know we had a definite benefit there as press. So like if we checked into like premieres for every time slot, once those were done, as long as another movie wasn't sold out for press, which only happened once for me, you could just start watching another movie in the same slot immediately. So like we realized our experiences were probably a little bit different than some people's, but there was still just an incredible opportunity for people to see a lot of really great movies over Sundance, way more conveniently than normal.
Agreed. I haven't seen my kids in a week, but other than that, like just like they said, we're able to watch Fire Die. Well, that's 120 minutes. Let me get you a better one. These 2 movies right here, when it comes to Try Harder, you could have seen Try Harder when it starts at 1 p.m. and then jumped over to Wild Indian before the time lapses for you to get over here. A lot of people didn't realize, but we covered it, if y'all listen, that even though it spills over to the 4 p.m., you still had time to start your 4 o'clock slots late. So even if those then dip to the 7 p.m., you're just starting those late. And then by the time it starts to become trouble, where you're out of the actual, what would we call it, block, the day ends. So it's been a really interesting way of balancing all of that, as well as the VODs that you see over here. We've been getting a lot of questions over on Twitter, which we've been answering. But we're going to use this as well as a way to answer some of those questions. But yeah, I agree with you. 11 out of 10 on the festival experience. I have loved what they have done with all of this. I think it has been a fascinating way to be able to experience the festival, and a lot of people who haven't been able to experience it at all, to be able to have the opportunity to go home and get you still got the music, you still got all the daily recaps, and as long as you're on the site and you're keeping up with everything, it's a hit. I don't know how else to say it. We always talk about, but we don't have everybody there. Look at this virtual lineup right here of just meeting up with people. And don't get me wrong, there is an actual virtual thing here. I don't know if you guys have tried the new Frontier.
There's a chat. If you check into the waiting room, there's a chat.
I don't want to get sued by going into any of those because they have been very hyping up the copyright stuff. But yeah, there's a chat. The New Frontier even has a little thing where you can become a little person. You see this right here?
Yeah.
You put your face right there and you're walking around saying hi to people like it's Animal Crossing or something. That's cool. But Twitter and Letterboxd, you know, one thing that we have definitely seen this year, shout out to Tyler as well, who gave us a little boost right there. Appreciate you, Tyler, for joining in on the chat. But it's just that the same conversation that we're having right here, right? The ability to be able to have just conversations online about these movies, no matter what. And I've been really appreciating that because it doesn't change. Even when we're there, are we not still on Twitter? Are we not still on Letterboxd, you know, trying to find out what everybody thinks about certain movies? So it's still been just as enjoyable. They said it couldn't happen. It did. I have been loving it. When it comes to all of the movies that are there, I know the big thing that a lot of people are concerned about is the award season pass. And I know we're going to be talking about some of the ones that have been standing out to us. We just recorded some intercut reviews as well. As you can see here, everybody, including the team here, has got some thoughts over on Letterboxd. But a lot of people are concerned with the awards day, which as I pull it up right here, looks completely different than all the other slots. It's just slim little thing here. On Tuesday, so we're recording this on Monday right now if you're listening live, tomorrow at 7 p.m. they will have the awards ceremony, 6 p.m. for Mountain Time. They're going to announce, I believe, 32 award categories and hopefully a special grand jury prize for directing. But Zach, I don't know if you have the categories out. We're going to be talking about some of the ones that we really want to see, but as he boots that up, it's going to be a free-for-all. So just for everybody who has the Wednesday pass, when you wake up, and it better be at 9 a.m. your time, make sure that you are there to start watching the movies. I can only speak on behalf of how we've been handling the VODs. So as you can see over here, these VODs, when they become available at 8 o'clock and I want to watch Jockey, I cannot reserve any of these other ones, you know? I can't reserve any of these. It's as soon as I'm done watching Jockey, I have to move on to see what else is available. The difference being, though, is that none of these VODs, or these VODs that are right here, they had individual ticket sales. Everything on awards day, you have to have a pass. So I'm hoping that they mapped it out so that, you know, if it was like a theater, they sold enough tickets so that's the same amount of seats for the people who have the passes for the awards, and hopefully you're going to be able to see everything you want. Obviously, it's not going to be 32 movies because I think that there will be multiple winners going on, but yeah, it's interesting. I saw somebody else was also saying about the chat when you're watching the movies, Sundance live chat, like go watch the movie at the same time. A lot of people, I love how they're just going, run! No, you shouldn't do that. Having been in a lot of Amazon Prime virtual screenings as well, it's the same experience. So any old head critics telling you shouldn't be live tweeting and watching the movies at the same time, that'll be a concern for 2 more years before companies start marketing and banking off that and having influencers come in to live tweet movies. So it's been really, really interesting to see how Sundance has handled that and has created a community of movie watching. But yeah, let's talk about these awards day. Again, my big heads up. Make sure you are up bright and early that day to be able to catch all the award stuff, but that you're also tuning in tomorrow, Tuesday night, whatever this is for you guys in terms of your, what is it called, time zone. Make sure that you're seeing which movies you want to scope out and have your list ready to go for awards day, because I know that's the pass that sold out the most. What do we want to win, though?
Yeah, so I don't have all the individual categories in front of me, but what I do have are the different programs in the festival, and I figure we can talk about what we think were the best films from each program, what we hope wins the different competitions. So let's start with the big one being U.S. Dramatic Competition. It's the one that generally gets the most hype and a lot of times features the best films to come out of Sundance. And this year it also features the movie that made the biggest splash in terms of purchases, Coda, which Apple TV, of course, just picked up for $25 million. But aside from Coda in the U.S. Dramatic Competition category, we have I Was a Simple Man, Jockey, John and the Hole, Mayday, On the Count of Three, which I see a few people in the chat really loved, Passing, which we just recorded an intercut review for, look out for, Superior, Together, and Wild Indian. So Amanda, I don't know if you want to start us off. Do you have a front runner for the U.S. Dramatic Competition category?
For me, it's On the Count of Three. I think it's really hard to say. I think On the Count of Three is definitely my favorite. I think Passing is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, though, just with how kind of the sheer amount of discourse that's been going on around it, and how it was so well received after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. But for me, I loved On the Count of Three. I think this was probably one of my favorite categories, I would say, in terms of like kind of like one of my more disappointing categories for some other stuff I was excited for. But I loved On the Count of Three. I hope that gets some acknowledgement, at least in some areas. Coda, again, got bought for so much money. It's just a feel good movie. It's gonna warm your heart. So I'm pretty bad at picking what Sundance is gonna pick as winners. You guys are way better at that. Like, cause there's so many years where I'm positive something's gonna win, and then it's like a movie that we all hated. So I don't know. What about you? What are you kind of looking at there?
Art?
For me, I am really hoping that it ends up going to, in terms of, well, I guess I'll spoil it. One of my favorite ones, Passing. I was really surprised because there was a lot of concern leading up to this one right here. It blew me away. I think it has some of the best performances. I think it is the best one out of the U.S. narrative competition. Second for me would be On the Count of Three. But I'm hoping this is able to pick up some awards. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I loved Passing a lot. I loved On the Count of Three as well, although I kind of doubt that's going to be the winner. It just seems maybe a little bit too touchy for it to be the one that wins. I could see it being Coda just because it is such a crowd pleaser. I have this also sneaking suspicion that it'll go to Wild Indian. I don't know about you guys. It's not that it's the strongest movie in this category, but I think it's a really interesting one, a type of story that we don't necessarily get a lot, and an exciting debut for its director. I don't know. I think this could ultimately be an award winner.
Yeah,
my thing with Wild Indian is that it felt like when it was really picking up steam, it was like done.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's almost like I felt like the movie was weighted in a weird way. Like I feel like some time should have been taken away from certain areas and added elsewhere, or the runtime should have just been longer in general, because I felt like what ended up being the most compelling is to just be kind of like done. So that was my thought there, but
and we've got a few people in the chat. Mariano saying On the Count of Three was really fun. Dan saying On the Count of Three was my favorite. Can't wait to see the interesting discourse it's going to create. Kelly's here saying love On the Count of Three. So definitely a lot of support for that movie. Yeah. Moving on to U.S. documentary competition, we have Ailey, All Light Everywhere, At the Ready, Cusp, Homeroom, Rebel Hearts, Rita Moreno, Just a Girl Who Decided to Go for It,
Fantastic.
Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised,
Great.
Try Harder, and Users. Art, what is your standout from the U.S. documentary category?
I have been really loving Summer of Soul. The more and more I think about it. It's funny that these three are right there. These are my top three docs. Rita, Summer of Soul, and Try Harder. Any of these win, I am completely cool with, but I think it would be really dope to see Summer of Soul get some. Or, Rita, it could be an EGOTS instead. She should get the Sundance Award.
Yeah. Amanda?
I wasn't able to see Summer of Soul, but it was really good, and I'm excited to see it. So out of what I saw, Try Harder was definitely like shockingly good to me. It was kind of
Very
like
good.
the same reaction I had after I finished Boys State. I was like, why is this so interesting to me when it has nothing to really do with me? But yeah, no, it was I like that one a lot. That for me, that's my front runner, but I'm hearing great things about Summer of Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see it being Summer of Soul. It is such an interesting movie. That said, like, so much of what's interesting about it is that it's this historical document, whereas I think what makes films like Try Harder, films like At the Ready really good is they're just great documentary filmmaking. I also caught a bit of All Light Everywhere, which is just a fascinating documentary, sort of talking about the relation between people and surveillance and filming and our relation to a camera and how a camera can change how we act. fascinating documentary. So I kind of feel like this category maybe goes to All Light Everywhere, maybe goes to At the Ready. You
Okay.
guys seem to say that Homeroom was also an interesting one.
I
thought
did think
Homeroom was pretty
Homeroom
good.
was really interesting because it's a very personal story to the director. It's part of like a 3-part
Trilogy.
look that trilogy. And then just how the subject matter of what he was talking about ended up lining up so well with a lot of what we saw go down in 2020. So for one, just the effects of the pandemic, but two, just everything that happened after that with the Black Lives Matter movement, and it just became very relevant to that story. And it was real, and that's not something that you could plan for, but it worked in its favor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure at first when like COVID hit, he was probably like, "Oh my God, oh no." But then it like really ended up kind of coming together well for that too. I still like Try Harder more, but Homeroom's definitely worth the watch if that's something that seems like it's interesting to you.
I agree.
In the World Cinema Dramatic Competition, we have The Dog Who Wouldn't Be Quiet, El Planeta, Fire in the Mountains, Hive, Human Factors, Luzu, One for the Road, The Pink Cloud, Pleasure, and Primetime. Amanda, what stood out to you from World Dramatic?
World Dramatic. I'm trying to think out of the ones I saw here. I think One for the Road for me personally. Oh, Pleasure. I always forget Pleasure. Sorry. I always forget that
It feels like it should be in midnight.
It does feel like it's a mix. Yeah, I said that. I'm like, it's the only thing that premiered in the midnight time slot that wasn't a midnight movie that also felt like the most horrific one out of all the ones I saw in that category. Pleasure is definitely the standout for me there. I also really like One for the Road. One for the Road has an issue where at one point it starts feeling like a completely different movie.
Agreed.
And you're kind of like, I don't know if I like the direction it's going in, but then when it comes back to the ending, it hits it and lands so extremely well, and so much of the movie is so great that I definitely still think it's worth the watch. I just feel like there's probably a better movie in there somewheres with just some editing changes. But I think Pleasure is One for the Road is the easy recommend. Pleasure is the one that's all like, look into what the movie is before you consider watching it. It is going to be a very hard watch for some people. It is dealing with the bad sides of the porn industry and the horrors of the porn industry. So it is going to be dealing with like really heavy topics that some people might not be able to handle and don't want to see, which is totally okay. It's just, I think that what they did with it was really good. It's just not going to be for everyone because of the subject matter.
Agreed. This is also my standout of these, just to give a big shout out to some of the other ones that were also playing here as this thing decides to glitch. Let me move over to this over here. I also liked One for the Road. Big shout outs to Hive. I thought Hive was a fantastic movie. We were able to catch this one before the fest had started.
I still need to catch it.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I thought it was a pretty good, solid movie about pretty much a business that this woman is creating on her own, as well as Human Factors. I think this is a divisive one for a lot of people. I'm on the top side of the divide. I liked it. It's a mini force majeure to a degree. That goes in a couple of places without getting into too much spoilers. But I enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty good. And El Planeta, that one's also, right? One of the ones? This one surprised me because this wasn't even on my list at all. But shout out to the publicity team for reaching out, hooking us up with a very easy link to view. Yo, look, a lot of people send us links. I don't mean it's going to be good. But this wasn't even on my radar. And I enjoyed it a lot. It actually is. It's the director and her mom. And they're in this movie. For those of you who may know Nacho Vigalondo, he's in the movie as well. He plays a minor part. He's obviously a pretty prolific director, I would say. It's a quirky movie. It's considered kind of like a satire, dark comedy type thing. But the ending, it had me reminiscing on it a little bit. I was like, I see what y'all going. I see what El Planeta is trying to say. So another tiny one that went in there, but Pleasure. It just surprised me. It just surprised me a lot. What about you, Zach?
Based on what people have been saying about these movies, I feel like El Planeta's got a really good chance. I feel like One for the Road has a pretty decent chance. I feel like Pink Cloud also might have a decent chance. There's a lot of people who have been responding positively to that one. I know not everyone in our group, but it is an interesting premise. I am gonna echo the praise for Pleasure. That I think to me is the standout from this category. I don't know if it's the type of movie that Sundance is going to award, but it's certainly it's certainly unforgettable. And
Yeah.
to me, that makes it the one that's probably the most worthy of the award in this category. But just to pick what I think maybe would win, I guess I would say Pink Cloud, even though it's not my favorite from here.
All right, we'll see.
Really? You think? Okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think it's too unintentionally relevant. I think I think it is being hurt by its subject matter, that it was completely unintentional. But I don't know. I'm weird. I didn't like it. Just didn't like it.
Art, scroll down. What's that Letterboxd average at right now?
It is. People like it. That's what I've been saying. I've literally been saying that everyone was like, "Oh, I'm really excited to see this," but it's like I'm the outlier in that I just didn't like it. There was a point that happened, and I explained it to them earlier, and I won't say what it was, but it's just something happened that it, like, the movie from that point on lost it for me. From that point on,
That's fair.
everything I was watching, I
totally
was
get it.
judging it with that sight, and then the whole thing just made me dread existence, and I don't need that right now. Like, I just watched one. I watched on the count of 3, and I felt more uplifted.
Look, I can't argue with that. When we do the intercut, just big old video, we're going to be trying to live stream it as well. That's where I'll be doing all of my ratings as well. But I think we ended up liking it probably just a tad more than Zach did. I didn't think it was that bad. It's one of the rare ones that was actually shot before COVID, so I will give it that. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And we got a little bit of love for some of the world cinema movies in the chat. Sathithi said Fire in the Mountains was amazing.
Nice.
Cinephile Davis said loved One for the Road and felt the odd story placement worked in the end for me a lot. On the other hand, Pink Sweet said, yep, One for the Road was 2 movies. Didn't love that.
It is 2 movies.
It's 2 movies, and I feel like it pulls it together in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mariano asked, is it true that you have to put your age when watching Pleasure? Yes. 2 movies in this
2
festival
movies.
have asked us for your age. That one in violation.
I would assume. Would you say that Mother Schmuckers would have also asked for age? Because we saw
Mother
it before.
Schmuckers should have asked if I
better.
had a pet, a mother. Like, no, they
If
should have
I
asked
had
for a lot more.
Family member that passed. Like, there's a lot of stuff Mother Schmuckers have asked about her.
Mother Schmuckers is a mess. What we go talk about Mother Schmuckers? Okay, look, Mother
That's the one
Schmuckers
I'm
is
like,
a
this was
mess.
ridiculous. Yeah, but I was like, this is so ridiculous, but I'm so excited to make a YouTube video for it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is gonna be great for YouTube, and that's all I'm gonna say.
That's the one that I wish and there it is. I was trying to find the other poster that they had. This is a mess of a movie. It should have been seen with an audience. This is all reaction pieces. It is an insane movie. We'll talk more about it again. We don't want to get too much spoilers in this, but
That's fine.
yeah, Mother
Eli
Schmuckers. I hope it wins the grand jury prize.
Chat said that it did ask. Eli in the chat. Eli or Ellie? Eli.
Really?
Said
Okay.
that it did
That makes
ask,
sense.
which I'm not surprised. Like,
Yeah.
there was
We have a
some
very interesting relationship with the Mother Schmuckers PR team. We'll just say that.
Yeah, we'll say
We'll
that.
just say that. All right, Zach. For the other
World Cinema
categories.
documentary?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into it. There's, first of all, Captains of Zatari. Is it a documentary? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Faya Dai, Flea, which just was picked up by Neon. Misha and the Wolves, which was just picked up by Netflix. The Most Beautiful Boy in the World, Playing with Sharks, President, Sabaya, Taming the Garden, and Writing with Fire. Amanda, which of these, if any, stood out to you?
I only saw one. This is I will admit I don't tend to focus in on documentaries as much as you guys do.
This is the category that I think we all have seen the least from, probably.
I was really excited to see Misha and the Wolves. It just hasn't happened. And I knew we can see Most Beautiful Boy in the World. I just didn't have a chance to watch before the fest started. But I saw Sabaya, which I thought was a really impactful and interesting story, and a very brave, like genuinely brave story to be telling. And to just the whole thing, they're basically saving sex slaves in the Middle East, people that have been sold into sex trafficking, and I just don't even know how you could, for one, do that as a thing that's just volunteer work, and 2, actually get someone in there to be filming it while that's happening. Like, really, really incredible piece of work there that probably could have worked really well as like a journalistic like expose versus a documentary, or both. Like, there could be a companion expose journal, like a investigative journalism thing on this, or world traveling documentary. So I thought it was, very impactful and unique for the subject matter.
The tagline with just a mobile phone and a gun like that,
Yeah.
it's still on my queue. It's on my queue. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm glad you got some high praise for it. For me, look, I got to see half of Flea. There's only one movie I saw half of, and it's Flea. I'm hoping that one wins just because I do want to finish the movie. It elapsed when I finally got the chance to get around to it. I can see Misha in the Woods. I know some people were asking about it in the chat as well. I do think that it is a very compelling story about a very compelling story, but there's a conversation piece around it, without spoiling too much of it, even though it is a true story, about how the subject handles her story and the responsibility of what the director has to do when trying to pitch this as a psychological thriller. So I'll put it there. But I'm curious to see more people catch it, and more people will, because it is going to be on Netflix. For me right now, between Flea or Captains of Zatari, because I think that Captains of Zatari was, I call it the Jaden Smith effect. By that I mean that I only got to see Jaden Smith at Lala because someone pulled out. And the only reason we got Captains of Zatari is, if you all recall, they took out Inconvenient Indian.
Yeah.
So Captains of Zatari is the wild card pick, and I think it would be really surprising and interesting to see it actually pick up some awards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Captains of Zatari is an interesting one. Flea, as you mentioned, it's getting a lot of the buzz. I would not be surprised if that's the one that ultimately wins here. For me, the one that I like the best was President, though. It's a really stunning documentary about the 2018 presidential elections in Zimbabwe. And, of course, there's all this stuff that feels relevant to our own situation, having just gone through a really tumultuous election. But there's so much about this particular story that is singular and makes it complex and interesting. And it's just told... It's told so thoroughly and brings you through so many interesting things. I was texting Amanda and Art, just being like, I'm 10 minutes in and 15 world-changing events have happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's a really stunning documentary. I'm hoping more people get a chance to catch that one too.
Dope.
Then in the next category, the category that has the most out there movies in the festival, we have The Blazing World, Crypto Zoo, First Date, My Belle, My Beauty, R#J, Searchers, Son of Monarchs, Strawberry Mansion, and We're All Going to the World's Fair. Art, what was the best thing you saw in Next?
So the Next, kind of like the Midnight one, it's been a very interesting pattern of what is the weirdest. And for me, it has to be Crypto Zoo. I think Crypto Zoo did some of the most interesting work. I know it's not going to be everyone's favorite. And I'll compare it over here with Strawberry Mansions. Strawberry Mansions and Crypto Zoo, I think, embody what the next category is. I believe there are some movies, like The Blazing World, which should have been Midnight. First Date, which I think is okay, it's good. Should have been at South by. R#J, look, this is going to be a hit only because this is a studio film playing at a festival. I will say more later. But Crypto Zoo it's a completely hand-drawn movie where we have been discussing it about these cryptids that there's practically an Epcot of them. You could see it as a zoo, obviously, but it's like an Epcot of making sure you have every single one of these beings. And I say that because in a zoo, the animals don't really contribute to something. But in a Crypto Zoo, considering what these cryptids do, they kind of have like this thing going on where in Disney World, if the whole world were to explode except for Disney, do they not have a Mexican there working at Epcot, a French, an Italian, someone from Norway? So it's kind of like that they have going on in here, and it is very weird. Don't get me wrong. But out of all of these, that would be my pick. I hope it wins some stuff. I know Son of Monarchs has already won the award that Searching won and Tesla won, which is the Alfred P. Sloan, I believe is what it's referred to. And it's an interesting story. We'll get more into that when we do the full video. But as of right now, out of the ones that I have seen, I would like to see Crypto Zoo get some love.
How about you, Amanda?
I'm going to be honest. This is usually the category that I love the most, or at least has something that like really stands out and I feel is really relevant to me in some way. And this was probably like my biggest disappointment category this year. There was some that I was really excited going into that just ended up being busts. Like I really didn't like Blazing World. First Date felt like it was so close to being something amazing and then just kind of fumbled it in a lot of ways. And that was one that I think probably would have benefited from being seen with like an audience, like in a theater.
Let me add real quick, Blazing World, if you have Prime, the short is on there.
Yeah. And I think it probably works better as a short. I'm just gonna say. We're All Going to the World's Fair, I thought was like the subject matter was super interesting, but again, it's just one of those things I can think of like clear ways in my head to make this movie significantly better, and sometimes there's nothing more disappointing about that. Sometimes if a movie just doesn't work for you, that's great, that's fine. It just means it wasn't for you. But if you can see a clear path on how you could make something better, that's so bad. So I don't want anything to win. I don't know. I don't know.
Did you see Strawberry Mansions?
No, because everybody started like trashing it, so I bopped it off my list.
Look, I'm not saying it's perfect, but that one fit the next category. Like I said, out of the two, Strawberry Mansions and Crypto Zoo. Again, you have to accept the weirdness, because then either it's great for you or you're just going to be like, I don't want to be here. But Strawberry Mansions, it is the movie about it's tax collecting dreams. They needed a bigger budget, but they did not let them stop that from the craziness that they did. But I do find I found that one to be a little fascinating, so I'm curious to see.
Yeah, definitely some love in the chat for certain ones in this one. Mariano says Crypto Zoo should win. I saw Ismail shouting out Son of Monarch, saying that one was fantastic. Some more frustration with the Blazing World from Jay, saying the Blazing World was terrible. I've been hearing a lot of stuff like that. A couple people said they saw I'm Going to the World's Fair. That one's been getting a lot of hype on Twitter. I'm kind of on the same page as you, Amanda, where I thought some of the stuff they were doing was interesting, but ultimately I had a lot of frustrations with the execution of it.
Yes.
And yeah, I also just, this is a category, you'd think in a year where so many films had to adapt to different circumstances and could have maybe found some kind of semi-digital way to tell their story, that this category maybe would be better. But I was a little bit underwhelmed with the stuff that I saw here. I don't think anything that I saw, I didn't see The Blazing World, I don't think anything I saw here was outright bad, but I don't think a lot of it was that good either. I would assume that We're All Going to the World's Fair is going to win this category for a couple different reasons. Well, but nice. I'm kind of I'm throwing my hands up at this one. I really don't know.
I don't know.
I still got to catch that one. I'll be catching that one soon. I think that's the only one I may have been missing there. But I agree with Zach. I personally don't think there are any bad films at the festival. There's two I did not like. I don't think there are any bad films. Whether comparing festival years, is this lower quality in general? I mean, they cut off like a third of the, this is only a third of what would have been the entire lineup. So I could definitely see that. But again, I didn't hate any of these. We'll see how it goes. Again, rooting for Crypto Zoo, please. Next category, which is
premieres. So
you got premieres? I got midnights.
I can go to midnight next. Let's do that.
All right,
yeah,
let's
he
do the
skipped
midnights.
premiere and went down to next.
All right, so midnight, the horror or sometimes just
Only
vulgar
6
category of the festival.
Yeah.
We got Censor. We got Coming Home in the Dark. Got A Glitch in the Matrix. Have Knockningar, as it's referred to in Swedish. Mother Schmuckers. And Violation.
Which I'll be catching tonight.
A somewhat condensed category. Amanda, what stood out to you from these?
Well, when you say the word stood out, Mother Schmuckers certainly stood out.
For reasons.
I was tweeting about that, and I said that it made me feel sick, and by that point I hadn't even gotten into like the full crux of what could have made me sick in that movie. I want it to win just for the discourse. But I think my review was something like, how the hell did this movie get made? Yeah. And I stand by that. I don't know how that movie got made at all. I don't even know what they would begin to vote for this kind of stuff. I know it's not going to win. Like, people are going to watch that and be like, absolutely not. But that's the one that stood out to me. So what about you? What about you guys?
You say that Mother Schmuckers, and I do believe like it's way too out there. I still think the worst in this category is A Glitch in the Matrix. That is some doo-doo piece of... Zach and I were venting. We will have a whole thing, because this one comes out soon. Like, it's going to be out in a week or so. So we'll have more to say about that. But oh my, the Edgelord movie of the year. Censor.
Yeah, it comes out on Friday.
It comes out. Yeah, it's gonna be out. Censor. I'm seeing some interesting stuff in the chat. Censor is amazing, bro. I don't care. Censor was okay. I like the premise in Censor about a film censor who ends up kind of getting into the craziness of the world itself. I'm curious to see that win some stuff. Coming Home in the Dark wasn't bad. I think it's a very great thriller. Even if the message may be kind of smothered in what they were trying to go for and the characters being so bad. I know, Zach, you like Knocking, though.
I did like Knocking. I don't think it's anything amazing, and it definitely would not be my choice to win this category, but I thought it was a effective horror adjacent thriller where you're kind of wondering throughout, like, is she crazy? Is she not? What am I going crazy? And I kind of like a movie that gets in your head a little bit like that. It's a, it puts yourself in a very like relatable situation. It's like you hear something and you don't know what it is. I liked a lot about Knocking. For me, I also, Mother Schmuckers is definitely a standout. I do not think it's going to win this category because some people are going to have violent reactions against this movie.
Yeah.
But to me, this was like Will Ferrell's Step Brothers by way of Tim and Eric or something. It's just such a out there insane movie. I love a lot of the choices they make with the editing and the shooting, the crazy zooms that are constantly going in and out and disorienting you, the random just
like it's trying to make you
face.
sick. It's trying to make you sick actively. I just remember Art saying something like, "Oh, this is Mother Schmuckers is stupid fun."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "But how far are you into it?"
Yeah.
And
look,
then later on, he's like, "I just got to the insert thing here scene." And
Yes.
I was like, "Have fun, buddy. It's
Yeah.
all downhill from here."
there is moments in this movie where you think, "Oh, this is just an unrated jackass version of Bill and Ted."
Yeah.
I just got off watching Mandibles, the newest movie by Deplu. Is that how you say his last name? Quentin. Mother Schmuckers is all that blended in with, literally, it begins with someone eating poop.
Yeah, it does.
All into that. So if that intrigues you, I will say this is the one out of the midnight category that is very, very much the one I would have wanted to see reactions with. At midnight with a group. But
that's the best way to put it, though. Like it just know that it escalates as it goes, and it starts with somebody eating fried human poop. So like
people are gonna love this.
It
They're fans of it.
escalates.
It's
It
70 minutes of
escalates.
craziness, but
It
it
is.
hits everything. It will offend you, and I think that's what they wanted to do.
Absolutely.
All right,
My
I
pick in
pulled.
the midnight category is Censored, by the way. I
Oh, okay,
liked
dope.
Censor, I think, more than both of you. I thought it was a really effective horror film. I thought some of the visuals were really cool. That whole ending 15 to 20 minute sequence I just thought was very dope. I love the style of this movie. I think the director Prano Bailey Bond is kind of announcing herself as like a visually compelling director of horror films. I love how this is staged. I think it doesn't feel like a concept I've seen before. Obviously, there's many horror films that mine trauma, but to do it through this film scenario is really cool. I liked it. I think also, given that this is a movie somewhat about movies, it could have a good shot at winning an award chosen by people who make movies.
No. Now we got one final category that isn't up for awards. It's just the premieres. We'll go through this one quickly and then answer some questions.
Sure.
Because then we also have some screenings coming up. But Zach, what is the standout right now that you think people should have on their radar if any of these get replayed in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, so we've got Amy Tan, Unintended Memoir, Bring Your Own Brigade, 8 for Silver, How It Ends, In the Earth, In the Same Breath,
Very
Land,
good.
Marvelous in the Black Hole, Mass, My Name is Polly Murray, Philly DA, Prisoners of the Ghostland, The Sparks Brothers, and Street Gang, How We Got to Sesame Street. A lot of standouts in this category. I'm going Mass. I'm going with our boy Fran Kranz, writing and directing a really beautifully told story that feels like a play in the way that it brings you into this room and traps you there with these people going through this emotional dialogue journey. I just thought the script was so well considered and paced, and the performances were remarkable. This is the movie that's going to stay with me. This is the movie that I'm taking out of Sundance and hoping it makes some kind of splash at the Oscars or something. Yeah, I dug Mass a lot. My favorite from the premieres.
It's a great poster as well.
Amanda, how about you?
For me, I would say I would agree. Mass is probably my standout in terms of the performances. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it's another one of those movies that, based on what it is about, it could have gone so many ways and could have been handled so horribly. But I actually think they really nailed it. I think a couple areas maybe go a little bit too heavy-handed in certain things, but it always pulls you right back in the performances. Ann Dowd and I think Martha Plimpton, right?
Mhm.
Martha Plimpton, they nailed it. They sold their performances so well. You get a moment where you think you're free from the tangible grief, and they bring you right back in for like the biggest gut punch of them all. It was definitely impactful for sure. Other than that, I thought Marvelous in the Black Hole was really cute. I thought
is
it
a
was
cute movie.
it's a cute movie. It's another really good feel good
Yep.
coming of age story. It's cute. It seems like it's like the perfect Netflix movie to
You
go
know-
right in with like the half of it and all that kind of stuff. It's just cute.
Sundance normally has a kids section, and
Yes.
yes, there's a little bit
Oh,
of like
that's
cursing
right.
and stuff.
Mhm.
But even despite the cursing, this Marvelous in the Black Hole feels like the movie that should have won the kids section.
Yeah, I can agree
Yep.
with that.
I hope it gets picked up on Netflix. I think it would do pretty well.
Same.
My standouts, I really like Prisoners of a Ghostland. I know a lot of people came back split with that, but hey, it is Nick Cage was in the Midnight. He's been a couple other categories. He's made it to premieres. I want to see this man in U.S. dramatic, and he's going to take on Christopher Abbott as the king of Sundance. I thought Mass was pretty good as well. A for Silver was the one movie that it may be just another werewolf movie, but I thought they did some interesting stuff with it, and I personally thought
I
it was
agree.
a movie where I actually wanted to see it in the theater. I wanted to feel
Yeah.
the bass in my butt.
But
Sadly,
people hate it. Like some people really hate
some
it.
people really hate
And I
it.
don't know what they were expecting from this movie. And yes, maybe it doesn't go far enough in jump scares to be that kind of movie. And maybe it doesn't effectively do that slow burn
Mhm.
horror that other people were expecting. But I think it did some things like very uniquely, like incredibly uniquely in terms of the design of the monster itself and like how it works, how that whole function works, which is like really impressive in today's day and age. So I think we liked it more than Zach, but I definitely don't think it's as bad as some people were saying.
Yeah.
But to be fair, in the waiting room chat, people were popping off jokes and saying things like, "So this is going to be a swearwolves movie." So maybe just the right crowd wasn't waiting to watch it or something. But I don't think it was as bad as some people say. But yeah, I agree with you. It would have been a good movie watch.
I'd also put
Theater
in the
watch.
same breath. I thought that was a pretty great documentary from
Yeah.
the director who had also done One Child Nation. And then, of course, a director made his documentary debut. The Sparks Brothers lives up to the hype. I will put that out there.
It was good.
It was very
Yeah,
good. So
agreed.
I think this has been like a renowned favorite. I think for a lot of people, like there's very few movies that haven't been split. Now that we live in the world of everybody having accessibility, which I'll never be against. Sparks Brothers is the one that I think most people have come together and been like, yeah, that one's good. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
But,
Edgar Wright, man, he just
yeah.
knows what he's doing.
Overall, a crazy, crazy, crazy festival. I loved a lot of the movies that we have seen. I'm going to go through a couple of rapid fire questions that we've been getting in the chat. If you guys see anything, definitely put it out there. We have 10 minutes to go before we have another screening, which is Judas and the Black
Yeah, I'm
Messiah.
already in the waiting room
Oh,
for
yeah.
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine
you
if
got
we were
Judas
there?
coming up.
What would we be doing? Would we be live streaming from the tent at the Eccles? Like, you know? Okay, let me go through these really quick as I pull up the side-by-side over here. Give me your rapid response. Ismail has said, anyone else got the la la la, chicka chicka la la la?
Nope, because I've been skipping all of that.
I was singing that earlier before we got on this
Yeah, you guys
live
were.
stream.
It is stuck on me. At first, I
been
was like,
singing it.
look at that ritmo that they got going on. I believe it's Native American inspired, but yeah, we'll be looking more into that. I will be downloading it, and I love the different
Nice.
variations that they have. So yes, it has. He had also asked, any trouble focusing while at home, or are you disciplined? I do this every Friday when new
I
movies
suck.
come out. So it's not new for me. What about you guys?
I have horrible focus issues. It's one of the reasons why I love theaters so much because I really feel like it just locks you into the experience.
Mhm.
I was trying to be better with this. The benefit is that if my focus did start to wane, I could be like, oh crap, and just jump back like maybe the 30 seconds that something
Yes.
happened that my brain just decided I needed to look at something. I have such horrible focus issues. So like this is not the optimal way for me to be watching movies at
That's
all.
fair.
But it was a good lesson in learning how to get better at it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It helps to kind of set yourself up in a way where you have the least amount of distractions around you. And I think Amanda made a great point in that because it's virtual, you have the benefit of going back. Sometimes I found myself just like thinking a little bit too much about dinner, which is like something that I do when I watch a movie in a theater too, but I don't have the benefit of going back 30 seconds and
Yeah.
making sure I caught that line of dialogue. So
Makes sense.
I have found myself rewatching scenes maybe more than definitely more than I ever have at a film festival. So that's helped in terms of just making sure I get everything. But yeah, we're also doing this like for work kind of. So
Yeah.
we gotta lock into some of these movies.
On Sunday, I broke my record for 13 movies in one day.
Woo,
And that
I
is
hit
only
11 one
possible
day.
because of virtual. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a discipline thing, and it's like you have to really love it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Because if not, you will go crazy, and you do go crazy. Like we were talking, how do you go from mass to a funny movie? It's like a
Yeah.
balancing act as well. But see, Mariano had asked, "Is it true they asked for age when watching Pleasure?" Yes, I think we had covered that, and it turns out
Yeah.
Mother Schmuckers asked for your social as well. Jasmine said most disappointing watch. Hers was John in the Hole, as well as some hopes for acquisitions. Disappointing. I don't know. I try to not have expectations for a lot of these movies. I just try to see what the directors have out
John
there.
in the Hole was probably one of mine.
But yeah,
I would say.
that's from the writer of Birdman. So I'm trying to see and think it over about what else there may be in there. But there was some docs that I felt were just images, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm trying to see the one over here. But Zach, I don't know if you got anything off the top. For me, this one right here, Users. It's not bad. Beautiful images. Just it didn't say much.
Yeah.
Let's see. You got
What's Amanda asked, what are you most looking forward to tomorrow? I don't know what you guys have on your calendar or on your plans for VOD tomorrow.
Let's see. What do we got for VOD
Amanda,
tomorrow?
I think
Oh
there's
my
a certain
God.
Catherine Waterstone movie tomorrow.
Yeah.
Vanessa
Oh my
Kirby
God, I always confuse it. The two titles, the world
to come.
The World to Come. Thank you, because I always want to say How It Ends for some reason. But yeah, World to Come. Somebody was trying to hook me up with a link for that early, and they're like, "It'll be in your mailbox tonight," and it wasn't. So it's fine.
They
It's
lied.
fine. We'll get there. Yeah, I'm a sucker for we'll call it representation.
Dope.
So I'm pretty excited. I like Vanessa Kirby.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
so that
forward-
one's the big one I'm excited for tomorrow.
I'm
Art,
looking
how
forward
about
to
you?
Philly DA. I know it's like an episodic thing,
Yeah.
but City Surreal was one of my favorites of last year, so I'm interested to see what that is. I will be seeing Violation at midnight, so I guess that is another one that counts as well. This is yet another that they make you ask for your age, and I heard it
Yeah.
is pretty rough, but that one will be coming
Yeah,
to Shudder as well. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna catch Violation tomorrow as well. I
Good
want
luck.
to check out that one. You were telling me some good things about Taming the Garden, so I think I'm gonna try and catch that one
Very
too.
slow, but great.
And I'm still considering maybe Mayday or something like that. Although I've heard some mixed things.
I'll be watching Mayday. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Mayday was I think yesterday I was gonna be like, I wish I had just not watched Mayday and just watched Together and then had a nap.
hmm
So that's kind of how I feel about Mayday. But if you got time.
Yeah. All right, let's answer three more. I'll start off with one, and then Amanda, Zach, I'll let y'all pick the final two. The first one that I got on my end for the last three would be Blue Studio said, Summer of Soul could have been a concert film. I believe it 100% it is. So I agree with you. But it ended up crafting hard-hitting narrative that bumped it from good to great. I couldn't agree more. For those of you who don't know, Summer of Soul, as I pull it up over here, is a movie that comes from Questlove himself, making his directorial debut. We gave it a little bit of a shout-out earlier. I'm hoping it wins some stuff. But it is about the festival that just all of the footage got lost. And there are legends, absolute legends who played at this. It was pitched as the Black Woodstock when they couldn't sell it, and still people didn't want it. But to think of what could have been if all of this was out there, not only is it a beautiful restoration of the music, this is something that just, like, they didn't just restore the video. That audio deserves to be played in a theater. It is a concert film, and it is a full-on just breakdown of what was going on during that time, and just seeing the people who were either there or even performed there react to the footage that they haven't seen in damn near almost half a century is crazy. So yes, highly agree with that.
I have another question from the chat here. Where is it? Oh, if you could change something about Sundance this year,
Mm.
apart from it being in person, what would you change?
I like it
I
all
feel like
being online.
as much as
Nothing.
I have loved the execution of the festival, maybe if it was a little bit more spread out, maybe if
Yeah.
instead of 5 slots in a day, it was 4 longer slots. You know, we figured out this whole like doubling up on movies that are in different slots, but still like you have to have both movies under 90 minutes in order to do that double up thing properly. Maybe if they were like 4 4-hour windows,
Mhm.
the whole fest and it took place over the week, the whole festival would be a little bit more manageable.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
That's probably about it. Because otherwise, of all of the online festivals I've attended this past year, this was handled the absolute best. It was the
Best.
easiest to navigate. It was
Shout out everyone.
the least technical difficulties, the most immersive in ways that you wanted it to be. It tried to maintain as much of the festival as it could, and it was like the most open and accessible. Whereas like something like TIFF was shut off. TIFF did
Yep.
not want people watching movies, so
Isn't
I'm a
that
little bit
crazy?
mad at them. But this like really went out of its way to be like a very user-friendly experience.
If you could still score a pass for tomorrow or even the awards pass, maybe even individual tickets, give it a shot. You can watch them from the comfort of your own home on your computer. It's been so easy to cast. I've been loving all that. All right, the final one, Amanda. You got anything?
Oh my God, putting me on the spot. I wasn't actually looking. Do you got
I
one?
got one. Yeah.
You go.
Let's start it. Let's end it pretty easy. Ismail asked, "What's our favorite virtual screening snacks?"
That's the one I was gonna go
That's
with.
a good one.
I ordered popcorn.
I
Could have
saw
made
that.
it at home, but I ordered it again.
I've
That was
had
great.
buckets of popcorn. I've had.
yeah.
I told Alina, damn near 42 tamales. So, so I guess I never thought I'd say
Amazing.
this, but a tamal, which is why I am pitching our tamal industry, which is where we will be having tamales sold from the comfort as soon as what's it called reopens, Sundance. I want to pull
Yeah.
up and have a tamale shop right there next to the fresh market, and I will be selling tamales, and I will be selling it to the Utahns
Go.
as hand warmers, and I believe we will be making $1 million. So that's my
I
idea. I'm
agree.
copywriting it right now through YouTube's copyright, whatever. That's the future for me. What about you,
Cool.
Zach? What'd you have?
I bought myself some Jenny's ice cream. That's been kind of nice. And then, of course, like a bunch of popcorn because you know I miss the movie theater. I miss doing
I feel you.
doing that. So, yeah,
Uh,
standard popcorn and some ice cream to
I
go
like
along
that.
with the late night movies.
I flipped on over to my Music Box Theater, and to support them, you kind of pick a showtime. You can pick up a big bucket of popcorn. I did as well. So I don't know. It's been dope. Again, thank you guys for catching over here on the live stream. I can see Tyler Kell said another shout out. He said that's on cusp. We will actually have a whole video on that as well. But I thought it was sure it's exploitative, but interestingly enough, Chris Columbus
Was
and
that
his daughter,
intentional?
I guess, he founded new ground, and they produced this, and I thought it was a very interesting look at these girls in a part of America that's exploitative in and of itself. But yeah, appreciate the shout out right there. Appreciate everybody who watched, and I'm gonna end it with Eli Schneider, who says pre-Judas thoughts. I'm really excited. It's
Yeah.
about to begin
Yep.
in a minute. Y'all excited?
We gotta head out.
I hope
I'm
this becomes
excited.
the best one.
I might have been more excited for this one than any of the Sundance films. So when they
Right?
added it, like, yeah, can't wait.
Yeah.
Again, hit us up on Twitter if y'all
Dope.
have any more questions. Hit us up in the comments down below over here. Hopefully, y'all are enjoying Sundance. Keep eating popcorn, tamales, whatever you have. Keep watching movies, and we'll see y'all later. Take care.